Yes, sorry, 4:30 exact. Ever, the commission is ready, we can call the meeting to order.
Yeah, it's coming order of getting more, however. We're good, okay. Go on. Go ahead.
You can, or you can just call the meeting to order and then just the time.
All right, calling the meeting to order at 4:31.
First item on the agenda.
Oh, yeah.
It's the rise from the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Daniel, will you take us through roll call? Sure.
Commissioner Caballero,
Here.
Commissioner Granados,
Present.
Commissioner Hernandez,
En este momento, si usted está en el canal español, entonces
Commissioner Gallegos.
Present.
Okay, and Chairman Avila is absent.
And for the
Um,
record,
and
he
for the-
did notify us of the absence in advance.
And then we have the alternate Commissioner Ayala.
Present.
And then we'll move on to approval of the agenda, and then you just usually read through that statement as well.
At this time, the commission may announce any items being pulled from the agenda or continue to another date or request the moving of an item on the agenda.
I do not have any changes to the agenda. The only request I was gonna make is that the commission would be open to hearing item number 3 and then number 2. It would, they align a little bit better that way. I apologize for the change.
You need a motion to approve
I do.
agenda? Yeah, motion to approve agenda?
Yes.
1 second.
Thank you.
Commissioner Caballero,
Yes.
Commissioner Granados,
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gallegos.
Yes.
Okay, Chairman Avila absent, Commissioner Ayala alternate.
Aye.
Moving on to approval of the minutes.
Approval of the minutes for the meeting of June 20th, 2023. Motion to approve the minutes.
Second?
A motion.
All
All right. Second.
I second.
Commissioner Caballero.
Aye.
Commissioner Granados.
Aye.
Commissioner Hernandez.
Aye.
Commissioner Gallegos.
Aye.
And Chairman Avila absent, alternate Commissioner Ayala.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Good evening, Commission. So is it okay if I proceed to item number 3 first?
Yes.
Yes.
And so this item is regarding the recommended approval of the 11th amended memorandum of understanding between the city of Coachella and the sports leagues. And no. The second one. Mhm. And so we did go over kind of like the history of the MOU last time. And what's before the commission today is an amendment to the MOU to reflect a change in really it's the maintenance schedule for the soccer fields. We noticed that the overseeding that we did last year, usually this slide is really kind of the summary of it. In the current MOU and the MOU we discussed last time is we closed the soccer fields from August 1st to October 31st. And it is a 3-month period of maintenance. And we usually use the first 6 weeks to oversod all of the wear pattern areas, which is usually the center of the field, and the goalie areas that are usually the heaviest worn. And usually by the end of the season they're more like dirt than grass. So that's the first 6 weeks. And And then we irrigate heavily and really try and get the root system improved. We also do aeration during those 6 weeks. The second 6 weeks of that 3-month period is for overseeding. And what we found is that the heat kind of carried longer last year, and we're anticipating the same thing this year. And for that reason, we recommend changing kind of when we do the overseeding so that the seed germinates better. We found that some of the seed that we applied at the fields did not do as well in the germination process, primarily because the weather was not prone to allow for that process to occur as it has done well in the past within this maintenance period. So what's being proposed and what we discussed with both of our soccer leagues is the following kind of a shift. We would still close August 1st, and we would work with our soccer leagues. I know that they have both identified that they might need a week or two longer in the front, but they would give us that extra week or two on the back end. So still the same amount of time for maintenance to be completed. So, but the proposed time frame that is identified in the MOU before you this evening is August 1st to September 17th, and that's 6 weeks. That gives us that first 6 weeks period to do all of the repair work for the areas that have been worn. And installation of sod and aeration will occur during that time frame. Then we will open the fields about the middle of September, and then they will be able to play until November 20th. And November 20th to January 9th, we will close again for overseeding and then application of a topsoil on that seed. And then they're open again for use. So that's really the change. We have met multiple times in the last couple of weeks with both of our leagues, and we have gotten concurrence from both of them on these recommended changes. Staff is also in support of these changes, as we hope that it will allow us to provide a better field condition with regards to the winter seed. And with that, that does conclude my presentation on this item. I'm happy to answer questions that the commission may have.
Does this just stop the playing on the field for the soccer players? I mean, is it still free to open for kids to play on the fields and or?
No, so the fields are closed
Yeah.
in order for the maintenance to occur.
Understand.
So it closes all of the soccer fields at Las Flores, so all 3 close at the same time. And then at Bagduma, the fields that are affected are fields 1 and 2, which are the soccer fields that are in the green fenced area. Those are our oldest soccer fields, and it also affects field 5 and 6, which are the fields that were along Frederick Street. So it's the newer fields, but along the Frederick Street side by 51. So those are the 4 that are closed at Bagduma. Field 3 and 4, which are the 2 at Bagduma that have the football goalposts, those remain open because it's American football season that kicks off usually the end of July, early August.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we're looking at 10 weeks of soccer between September
About 12.
18th to,
So 12 weeks that we
oh,
close.
it's 12.
For closure, you mean?
Yeah, for closure.
Yeah. It's 3 months.
Okay.
So it's the same 3 months that are currently in that MOU. They're just split into two periods of time. On this item, we would be asking for a recommendation. So Delia, if we could do a roll call on the item with regards to recommendation after a motion is made.
Motion to approve.
A second.
Commissioner Caballero,
Aye.
Commissioner Granados, Commissioner Hernandez,
Aye.
Commissioner Gallegos,
Aye.
Chairman Avila absent, and alternate Commissioner Ayala.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, commissioners. I'm going to move on to item number 2, which is an item that was actually brought forward by CB Coachella Valley Soccer League. I want to say about 2 months ago. We did identify that we would bring it back after we had some discussion on the MOU so that the commission can be better versed with regards to the uses and how they're laid out in the MOU. The MOU really depicts facility use and facility access by our sports league. So they had, I believe they approached the commission like I said, 2 months ago, so not June, but in May. And they requested reallocation of Bagnuma Field 4 for their use. And currently, in practice, Field 4 has been used by CISA, right? Which is the other soccer league that is primarily housed at Bagnuma. And Coachella Valley Soccer League primarily functions out of Las Flores. And that has been the practice with respect to the parks for probably about 3 years now. Before then, Coachella Valley Soccer League did not use our parks. So just kind of as a reference point, the field that we are discussing, Field 4, is the one that has the letter D above it. It's the one that has the concrete seating and is kind of close to, it is on the corner of Mecca and Avenue 51. And it has the splash pad area near it. So that's the field that they are requesting access to through the MOU. Just also as a reference point, this is Las Flores. Las Flores has 3 fields, one laid out in the north to south direction, but it has also been designed and it's used in the way that it allows for 4 full fields if it's laid out east to west. So it is actually in practice used as 4 fields by CBSL. And probably a few more because they also have the youth fields, which they divvy up some of those fields, but 4 full length fields. This slide is to depict kind of how Field 4 is being used and by what users throughout the year. So January through May, it is used primarily by CISA for soccer. With the exception of this year, because we anticipated altering some of our maintenance approaches, usually in June and July, Field 4 is closed for maintenance because we then do all the wear and tear replacements for Field 4 and Field 3 so that we can turn that into American football in better condition so that the start of their season is it's in good condition for that. Then August through October, historically, then the user for Field 4, actually not historically, last year and this year, because there was a change in the MOU early last year, that then split Field 4 basically down the middle. And 3 of the days of the week is used by CISA and 3 of the days of the week it's used by CBSL. And the reason that was done is because we kept getting a lot of requests for a soccer field during the summer. So we close off all of the soccer fields as we just discussed. And there was still a need for soccer facilities. So we identified Field 4 to be one that they could share to get them through kind of that closure period. This year, we hadn't had this issue for the last couple of years, but this year the Little Arabs came to us and they said, hey, our league is growing and we need access to Field 4. So the reason I've identified them here is because staff has spent the last part of the last couple of weeks really negotiating with both of the soccer leagues and football to be able to get everyone kind of the space that they want. So usually, as I stated in the MOU, Field 4 is used by the 2 soccer leagues. And the request we received from the Little Arabs is that they also wanted to use Field 4 on the days that they practice. Their practice is very limited compared to soccer. They don't use it all day and all night. They really only practice for 2 hours when they're out there. So we've been able to negotiate with all of the different sports leagues listed here for the use of Field 4. So they're really kind of sharing that space right now. And that's why you see all the 3 names there. In November, the users will probably still be the Little Arabs a little bit, but primarily will be CISA. And then, as we mentioned, and the reason I wanted to take this one second is because as recommended, the maintenance period would then be November 20th to January, basically, right? For the overseeding of Field 4. It will happen at the same time as the other fields for the overseeding. So that kind of takes us through the different users that you see on Field 4, and I'm just bringing that to light because they're asking for sole use, essentially, is what their request was when they approached the commission. So just in summary, kind of giving you both sides of the spectrum with regards to the soccer fields requests and use of Field 4. CVSL, as I mentioned, approached the commission in May, and the commission asked us to bring this back for consideration. Their request for reappropriation of Bagduma Field 4 to them, the primary reason is due to growth of their league. And CVSL's concern is based on the number of issued field per league. So as I mentioned, at Las Flores, there's 4 full-length fields, and at Bagduma, there's 4 to 6. And the 4 to 6, if I can just go through that real quick with you, because I think that that's some of the discussion that happens, is that while there is field 1, 2, and 5 and 6, which are the ones on Frederick Street, and I can go to the map if that helps a little bit. So 1 and 2 are the ones with the C on it, and then directly behind him, which is outlined in the red, those are 2 more fields, and that's 5 and 6. So those are the 4 fields that CISA has access to throughout their entire regular season. And during the months that American football is not using the facility, and the months that we're not taking field 3 and 4 out for service, like in June and July, that is technically part of the soccer season, they also use 3 and 4. The other factor to take into consideration is while CISA does have fields 1, 2, 5, and 6, soccer fields 1 and 2 are not fully lit. Some of the lighting for those 2 fields have been removed through the years because of honestly wear and tear, and they need to be replaced. So they do identify that while they have those 2 fields, they're not fully lit fields. We have identified funding to replace that lighting, but that improvement is probably about 1.5 years away. With respect to CISA, they are also stating that they have a continuing need for use of field 4 because their league has also grown. So we do have that same statement being made by both leagues. Recently in our meetings with both of the leagues, CISA president also advised that they had concerns with regards to this request because CVSL has teams playing at Las Flores Park, and they identified to us that they do not believe that all of those teams are registered with CVSL, but that they are travel teams. And so that's a concern for them, and how operationally, we don't get involved with how they identify their league and some of the uses. We really provide the facility. But I wanted to give you both sides of their concern with regards to reassignment of field 4. Or their use needs of field 4. At this time, we give this some consideration. This is the commission's direction at this point, but wanted to give you some feedback about one option we thought might be worth consideration. And as I mentioned, we do have a CIP project identified to bring field 1 and 2 to be fully comparable to any other field, right? With regards to lighting, because of our heat here in the valley. Without lighting, the utility of those fields is not as equal to a field that is lit. You don't use it quite to the same extent. We recommend allowing for the lighting project to occur before and then reevaluate any reallocation of field 4. Because at that point, then you really have 4 fields fully committed to CISA, plus the additional 2, then that would be more like in rotation to 3 and 4. So at that time, after the additional lights are installed at Bagduma, we recommend reevaluating the allocation of field use, and potentially at that point considering rotating one league to the other park, like on a biannual basis. So then that kind of evens the score of like who's at what park and who has access to more fields. So that would be staff's recommendation. I'm happy to answer questions on this item. No, it's a little bit messy.
I can tell. I
Sorry.
did have a question just to make sure that I understood everything.
Sure.
So I was looking at it. So CISA has 1, 2, 5, and 6.
1, 2, 5, and 6.
And then they also currently use field 4. That's the
3.
one in question for both teams, correct?
They also use 3 and 4.
3 CISA.
CISA. So they use everything at Bagduma.
So
1, 2, 5, and 6. 3 and 4, though, they are not used. So they don't mirror the accessibility that they have to 1, 2, 5, and 6. there are about 3 or 4 months out of the year during the regular season that they don't have access to those fields because of either maintenance
Yeah.
or American football being in season.
Yeah. But overall, they have access to more fields
They do.
than the other soccer.
Yes.
league. Yeah, because I was looking also at the breakdown for Field 4. It looks like CISA still has more access to Field 4 than the other soccer leagues.
Yes.
So I am understanding that correctly.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's primarily because of the fact that one league is at one park.
And the other one,
see-
yeah.
Yes.
As it's presented to us right now, are these the changes that have been made since CV Soccer League has came to you, or are these what?
We
were-
haven't made any changes.
No changes. Okay, so this is as it sits right now. And the staff's recommendation is that we stay on this rotation until the fixes get completed about 1.5 years from now. Yes, okay. Any other question?
What would be the alternate if the committee does not go with the staff recommendation for the 1.5 years that it would take?
We are open to any of your determinations. Essentially, you would be reallocating its use. That's the request before you. So if that is of interest to the commission, we can bring back that item with the direction that you guys would like us to proceed on. You would be, obviously, someone is going to be unhappy. That's the challenge. And that's, so I just wanted to present all the different angles that we hear from both of our leagues. We're open to your direction on this item.
Well, it sounds like a great problem to have in a sense that, we have leagues that are growing, right? And, I see parks coming down the road and, that should give more opportunity for more youth and more athletes to play on these fields. It sounds like a lot of negotiations with different leagues has gone into this plan already. And I would hate to throw a wrench in it and kind of mess it up, right? I feel that that it's probably very important to get those lights repaired so that they're full functioning fields. So that at that point, maybe, like you said, cycle through so that each organization has a full opportunity of using Field 4, because it sounds like Field 4 is the field that people want to use. Yeah, I would totally go with the staff's recommendation on this. Where do we go from here? Questions?
Any other comments on the item?
Motion to approve recommendation.
On this item, it's a presentation, so it's not an action item. So as staff, we're just looking, you did ask us to bring this item back. If the commission is satisfied with the presentation, then we will receive it and hold it and bring it back after the CIP improvements come further closer to fruition essentially.
Yeah.
Well, I myself, I would go with the staff recommendation, so I don't know how everybody will feel about that.
At the moment, I don't feel that I would be okay with the staff recommendations simply because it does come across as CISA having more access to soccer fields compared to the other soccer teams. So I'm looking more from the lens of equity and understanding that there are other, soccer sports leagues that are involved. So at the moment, I would not feel comfortable with that staff recommendation.
Do you have an alternative that you would like us to evaluate?
Not at the moment. No, I would like some time to think about that, to come up with something
Okay.
to present. Yeah.
Yeah. So how is it, did you guys give one league back Duma? Or
Sure.
what is it based on the amount of players they got in the league or?
So I can give you the history. So the reason that CISA has Bagduma is because CBSL has not been a longstanding league with us. So CISA has existed probably in the MOU since its origination, so around 2010. We had 2 soccer leagues at that time, and the other soccer league's name was Coachella Valley Desert Soccer League. That soccer league had a lot of problems with their 501(c)(3) status and were not able to sustain that status recurrently. So at a certain point, that league was no longer given access to the fields. So there was a time when there was only one soccer league. It was about a year and a half that we only had one soccer league. So thus that soccer league got the larger park. When the new league applied for access, they were given the smaller park. They were also smaller when they came to us. So that's where that leads us to where we are now.
So it sounds like it's a matter of seniority because they were here first
They were here first and they
Yeah.
were larger.
and they were larger. It's stayed that way. And now they're looking for some equity because you do have two teams. They're both growing. And that's what the other team is looking for. Okay.
And if I understand this correctly, when the repairs get done to these fields or the lights, are we considering, when you say like a rotation, like CVLS taking the spot of the January through May spot, and they all get equal amount of time for a year? Is that the way I'm understanding it?
The staff's recommendation would be for the commission to evaluate whether you want to rotate them completely to one park and the other, or each one has a home park. Or if you want to evaluate giving what that field 4 to another league, basically. To do the equity thing that was mentioned by Commissioner Hernandez. The main thing I want to mention is, while on paper, 4 fields and 4 fields, but when 2 of those 4 fields are not fully lit, you're not really, it's not apples to apples in those 4 fields that you're comparing.
And for how long has those two fields been without lighting? How long has that been?
I think it's been about 4 years.
Is there a reason why 4 years for those two fields?
Because the repair is close to $200,000, so it's finding that funding.
You said you found the one, right?
Correct, it's been allocated, so now it's in process. Essentially, it's got to get designed and got to get constructed.
So,
And that's why it's the year and a half.
Correct.
timeline.
Yes.
I don't have any other comments.
Yep, yep.
Thank you very much for your feedback on that item.
Absolutely.
This time, public comments.
We'll proceed with public comments. The public may address the commission of any item of interest to the public that is not on the agenda, but is within the subject matter jurisdiction thereof. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Madam Clerk, do we have any speaker cards? No, none.
So do we proceed to commissioner comments?
It's Karina. I don't see any raised hands online as either.
Let's continue to reports and requests. Commissioner comments? Anyone?
No comment here.
I do. It's just FYI that there's going to be a ribbon cutting ceremony. July 27th is a Thursday at Tuma Park. They're going to be opening up the pickleball courts, tennis and basketball. So I invite everybody to join in and hopefully we'll have some fun out there. I'll bring some extra pickleball rackets if you want to join.
There you go.
Bring your running shoes, guys.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
No one else.
No.
Through Growing Coachella Valley 2 weeks ago, I got to meet State Senator Padilla, I think it is. And after all the farming talk, I got to tell him like, hey, you should come down to Coachella. You got competitive leagues out there for soccer. And, right now we're talking about it. So it'd be nice. And he said, yeah, but who knows that? But so hopefully, hopefully we get some presents out here. So.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Okay. No one else?
No.
So, yeah. No, so
Work director comments.
no more comments.
I had just 2 comments. I did want to thank everyone for their responses to with regards to getting shirts for everyone. I know we have the event coming up, so we did put in the order for everyone's that we received. We also put in a small order of T-shirts. So I'm hoping that we'll get them next week. I'll know more by the end of this week. And if I do have affirmation that they'll be in next week, I'll send you guys an email so you guys can come by and pick them up. And maybe, so in case you're attending the event, you'll have some Coachella, swag to be represented.
Cool.
And the second, my second item, Commissioner Gallegos already announced it, so thank you very much.
Oh.
I hope the community is able to come out. I know it's really muggy, but we'll have refreshments and some food and a couple of demo games going on, so we're looking forward to it.
Sounds
I'm
good.
gonna miss
Sounds like fun.
that.
So those are all my comments. Thank you so much.
No one else?
No.
So, ready to adjourn at 5:01. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.